Dear students, welcome to INSIGHT Academy once again. Today is the class number 4 of Ancient India NCERT, and in today's class we are going to study chapter number 19 to chapter number 24. So as you have studied in previous classes, we are covering specific chapters every day. Focus of the classes is primarily on 11th class Ancient India Old NCERT, written by Harsha, though we are going to cover many topics which might have been in class 6th, 7th, 8th, as well as in new NCERTs. You have to focus only on the old NCERTs. So let us see the chapters of today's class. Chapter number 19, Crafts, Trade and Towns in Post-Mauryan Age. So when you see post-Maurya or post-Mauryan, so I hope you can recall now, we are talking about 200 BC to 300 AD period. How many years? This was the period of 500 years, 200 before Christ and 300 after the birth of Christ, so total 500 years. So in this, we'll be studying crafts, trade and towns, or simply economic developments or the economic life in India during post-Maurya or the post-Mauryan age. Next chapter is going to deal with the rise of Gupta Empire, growth of Gupta Empire, or simply the Gupta period 300 AD to 550 AD. So keep on looking at chronology. Gupta, before that post-Mauryan, before that Mauryan, before that Mahajanpada, or the age of Buddha, Mahavira, or simply post-Vedic age, before that Vedic age, and before that Chalcolithic culture period, and then before that the first was Stone Age. So try to connect all the dots here. Life in Gupta age, social life, economic life, all those things we'll see here. Spread of civilization in eastern India. How did Vedic civilization or the Aryan civilization moved into eastern India as well as outside India? Harsha, Harshvardhan and his times. Formation of new states and rural expansion in Peninsula. So Peninsula means the peninsular India, Deccan as well as South. Deccan means the northern parts of Peninsula, and when you say South India, we are talking about the southern parts of Peninsula. Important points and concepts from these chapters we'll be studying in today's class. The first here, economic life in India during post-Maurya age or 200 BC to 300 AD. This was the age of remarkable progress in agriculture. Agriculture was the mainstay of economic life, or you can say majority of people were part of agricultural activities, as we can see even today. Industries and crafts witnessed further developments because of the great demand of Indian manufactured goods. And this demand was the result of agriculture surplus on the one hand and the flourishing trade and commerce on the other hand. Industries were having markets within India. One major part of the market was the rural India, and that was the result of agriculture surplus. And second major market was outside India, and Indian goods were carried to Southeast Asia, to Roman Empire, to Middle East, and to various other parts of the world. During this age, so agriculture, industries, trade, there was a fine balance among these three different sectors of economy. When you see sectors of economy, agriculture and allied activities are known as primary sector. So primary sector, sector. Industries and crafts are known as secondary sector. So these terms will be used in your preparation repeatedly. Trade and commerce are known as tertiary sector. So primary economy, secondary economy, as well as the tertiary economy, all these three sectors witnessed remarkable progress. Let us see some specifics. Foreign trade during this period. India's foreign trade was with Roman Empire, and this trade with the Roman Empire was through sea routes as well as land routes. In eastern side, trade was with China, with Southeast Asia, and then trade was with South Asia also. Countries to the south of India, particularly Sri Lanka, Maldives, Malaysia, and other territories, Indonesia also. Now this trade was practiced through land routes as well as sea routes. The main land route was Silk Route. This Silk Route was connecting China with Constantinople, today's Istanbul, or the city located in Turkey of today, on the banks of Black Sea or the coast of Black Sea. There were sea routes also. So sea routes were also used in trade, and many of the ports located in India were used by the traders. So if you look at the sea routes here from, let's say, this is one prominent port. If you can read here, Berigaja, simple language, Bharuch or Bhrigukach, you'll find many different names for the same city in your NCERT. So from Bharuch or Berigaza, they could follow the Persian Gulf and they could go to Black Sea. This Pontus is a term used for Black Sea. The people could also come through, if you can see this Red Sea, and then reach the same. This was the city of Constantinople here, or Istanbul. The land route or the Silk Route used to come from China through today's Afghanistan, Central Asia, and it was again connecting the Eastern world with the Western world, or India with Istanbul or Constantinople. This term Constantinople you have to remember. Constantinople, today's Istanbul. This was the capital of Roman Empire. So goods were carried from India through these sea routes as well as through land route. Roman Empire was a big consumer of Indian luxury products. Roman writers, you'll find the name in NCERT also, Pliny. Pliny was the author of Natural History, a book, and he expressed sorrow that Romans were addicted to Indian luxury goods, and as a result of that addiction, huge amount of Roman gold was draining to India. India was famously known as the sink of gold, or Sone ki chidiya. So Indians were exporting manufactured goods and they were importing bullion or the precious metals, gold and silver. It means this trade was favorable to India, or the balance of trade was in favor of India. India was gaining immensely. So this was the trade. This sea trade got a boost because of the discovery of monsoon winds. These monsoon winds were discovered, again the name you have to remember, Hippalus, by Arab navigator Hippalus. Hippalus discovered monsoon winds in around 45 AD. Monsoon winds are seasonal winds. In one season, the winds move towards Indian mainland. That's why we have the rainfall, monsoonal rainfall. This is southwest monsoon. And then one branch goes through Bay of Bengal, hits the Himalayas. This becomes northeast monsoon. So in one season, the monsoon winds could push the ships towards India. And in another season, post-October, the winds were changing direction. So ships could move easily from India to the Western world. So discovery of monsoon winds made the sea journey safe, or you can say safer, faster, easier. India's exports increased enormously. So this was Indo-Roman trade. Similarly, these ports located on eastern coast were carrying the goods to China, to Southeast Asia, and to other parts of the world. India was the center of world economy. India was the richest country in whole of the world in ancient age. Look at the ports here. Sopara, one prominent port in Maharashtra. This was Bharuch or Barigaja. Then you find here there's so many ports located. Mujaris, if you recall from the previous class, you'll remember the name Mujaris, Kranganur. From here, 2 Roman settlements were discovered. A temple of Augustus was discovered here. Then you have here Korkai. You have here Podusha, Pondicherry. So ports were located on eastern coast as well as on western coast, and India was participating actively in foreign trade during post-Mauryan age. Look at the map once again, see some more ports here. One of the ports here, Bharuch, Sopara. Then you have here prominent ports. You have here Mujaris. You have here Pondicherry. Pondicherry in ancient times was known as Arikamedu. Pondicherry is the modern name, and near the city of Pondicherry, within the Pondicherry nowadays, there was a village called Arikamedu, and during excavations in this village, large number of Roman coins, Roman pottery have been discovered. So this Arikamedu was a prominent port on the eastern side. There was another port here in Bengal, and that was Tamralipti. This Tamralipti was the most prominent port on east coast during ancient age. Bharuch was the most prominent port on west coast during ancient age, or Bhragukaj or Berigaja. So these questions could be asked. Most prominent port on east coast, most prominent port on west coast. So both you should know. This is Bharuch, you can see here, today's Google map, Gujarat. Now this was the phenomena of trade commerce, phenomena of economy during post-Mauryan period. India was gaining immense wealth, and now the period was Gupta age, or the post-Mauryan age was followed by Gupta age time period 300 AD to 550 AD. The first prominent Gupta ruler was Chandragupta I. And his time period was from 319 to 350 all AD now, no BC. And in 319 AD, he started a new calendar or new era known as Gupta era. So whenever there used to be a new dynasty, whenever there used to be a powerful king, he used to start a new era. There are so many eras started in ancient times. This Gupta era started in 319 AD, or the first year of Gupta era was 319 AD. This has been calculated. Nowhere Gupta has mentioned that, okay, first year of Gupta era was 319. This has been calculated, and calculated by a very prominent historian, J.F. Fleet. J.F. Fleet studied Gupta coins on large scale, and he ascertained that the first year in Gupta era was 319, or you can say 319, 320 AD. So you have to remember the beginning of Gupta era, you have to remember the name of this historian, J.F. Fleet. There were a couple of Gupta kings before Chandragupta I also. He was the first Maharaja Dhiraja. So this title also you have to understand. Maharaja Dhiraja means king of kings. Maharaja means a local king. Raja means a very small, petty king. Raja, very small, Maharaja, bigger local king, and Maharaja Dhiraja was the king of kings, so he was the head of the many Maharajas. So he was the first Maharaja Dhiraja, he was the first powerful, first great, first sovereign ruler. Sovereign means somebody who does not have anybody over him or whose power is unchallenged. If we say India is a sovereign country, it means Indian Prime Minister, Indian President is not required to consult any foreign power before making any decision. So, till the time Guptas were Maharajas, they were under some bigger power, some other Maharaja Dhiraja. But now Guptas became Maharaja Dhiraja. So, that's how Gupta dynasty in real way starts from Maharaja Dhiraja Chandragupta first. So, Guptas ruled for around 250 years. Capital of Guptas was Patliputra, same Patna, and Chandragupta II, we will see the name after a few minutes, established a new capital or alternate capital, or you can say second capital, as Ujjain. So Chandragupta II Vikramaditya, we will see the chronology after a few minutes, had two capitals, Patliputra as well as Ujjain. So let us see important Gupta kings or the chronology of Gupta rulers. First Gupta ruler was Srigupta. We do not know time period as such, but somewhere around 300 AD, followed by Ghatotkacha. These were Maharajas or the local chieftains. First Maharaja Dhiraja was Chandragupta I. He transformed Guptas into a great power. His son was Samudragupta. And then came Chandragupta II Vikramaditya. Vikramaditya has been a very common title in ancient Indian times. Vikramaditya title was adopted by those kings who defeated foreigners. So those Indian rulers who fought against foreigners, those foreigners could be Indo-Greeks, could be Sakas, could be Kushanas, could be Hunas, could be Arabs, could be anybody. So those rulers who fought against foreigners and defeated them adopted title of Vikramaditya. Chandragupta II was one such king. Then came his son Kumaragupta. and Kumaragupta first, and then came Skandagupta. Skandagupta was the last powerful ruler. His time period was from 455 to 467. Kumaragupta first 415 to 455. Chandragupta second 375 to 415 AD, all ADs. Samudragupta 350 to 375 AD. Chandragupta first 319 to 350 AD. So these were the prominent Gupta rulers, and the kings who sat on throne after Skandagupta are termed as later Guptas. Later Gupta rulers. They were quite weak. Central authority had become weak after the death of Skandagupta because of so many internal and external causes. So Guptas were no longer that big power. So this chronology from Sirigupta to Skandagupta you should remember. Now some important points. Chandragupta first was the first Maharajadhiraja that you know. Samudragupta was a great conqueror. He is famously known as the Napoleon of India. He was termed as Napoleon of India by historian V.A. Smith. In reality, Napoleon should have been termed as Samudragupta of India because Samudragupta was in ancient times, Napoleon was in modern times. But these Western historians used to have a kind of racist bias. They used to compare everything in India with a Western standard. So they used to treat Westerners as greater than Indians, though Samudragupta was far, far greater than Napoleon. Samudragupta fought 100 battles and he was victorious in all of them. Napoleon lost many battles in his life. He was finally captured in the Battle of Waterloo and Leipzig and he was overthrown. Samudragupta never lost a single battle. So Samudragupta was far greater. But still, these Western historians used to have the temptation to emphasize on greatness of Europeans. Samudragupta was a great poet. He used to play music and he was portrayed playing veena on his coins. So he used to play veena, he used to write poems also. So he was a great poet, he was a great player of music, he was a great conqueror. Chandragupta II Vikramaditya got the title of Vikramaditya because he defeated Sakas of Gujarat. Recall the name of Rudradaman. So some successors of Rudradaman were defeated by Chandragupta II Vikramaditya, and that is why he got the title Vikramaditya. Kumaragupta first was also quite powerful. His reign is famous for the fact that he was a worshipper of Kartikeya. Other Gupta rulers were worshippers of Vishnu. But Kumaragupta first was worshipper of Kartikeya because his coins have image of peacock. On the coins of other Gupta rulers we find image of Garuda. So this Garuda also you have to remember, Garuda was the vehicle of Vishnu and Garuda was the emblem of Guptas. So these basic details you should remember about Gupta kings. These are just few. In advanced level classes we'll cover many more things. One more point about Skandagupta, he fought against Hunas and defeated them. Hunas were a warlike tribe. They came from Central Asia. So they attacked Gupta Empire. That was one of the reasons why Gupta central authority became weak. Recall Mauryan times, the later Mauryan rulers faced the onslaught of Indo-Greeks. Here Guptas faced the onslaught or the invasion of Hunas. So foreigners were coming to India, they were attacking Indian rulers repeatedly, and here it was the time of Guptas to face the heat. So these important points about Gupta rulers you should remember. Gupta period is famous for large scale use of coins. Gold coins were issued by Gupta rulers on large scale. In fact, in entire Indian history, maximum number of gold coins were issued by Guptas, and this Gupta gold coin was known as dinar. Dinar was the word of Roman origin, so it was a Roman name or the Roman term. It was taken from dinaris. This indicates that Roman influence was great on the monetization system, on the economy of Guptas. The Gupta foreign trade with Roman Empire was very well developed, and they used to get huge amount of gold from Rome, and that could be one of the reasons why they named their gold coin as dinar. Silver coins were also issued. Copper coins were also issued. So monetization of economy was very, very high during Gupta times. The purity of coins, one very important point that you need to see and remember here. Purity of coins means if a coin is made of gold, this should have 100% gold. If a coin is made of silver, this should have 100% silver. If a coin is made of copper, it should have 100% copper. So purity of coins indicates a level of prosperity. Till the time of Chandragupta II Vikramaditya, look at the chronology. Till the time of Chandragupta II Vikramaditya, coins were very, very pure. It means the health of Gupta economy was very good. In the coins of Kumar Gupta first and Skand Gupta and thereafter, we find percentage of impurity was high, or the purity of coins had declined. It means the economic health of Gupta Empire had started declining after Chandragupta II. So what does the purity of coins indicate? Health of economy or the level of prosperity. Level of monetization or number of coins. If we discover large number of coins from a particular period, it means we can say level of monetization was high. So level of monetization indicates the health of trade and commerce. So this is an indication of trade and commerce. It means if trade and commerce were healthy, trade and commerce were well developed, coins would be naturally more, because to trade you need more coins. And if you find less coins from a period, we can say trade and commerce were not very healthy, were not very well developed. So Gupta coins have been in very large number. It means trade and commerce were very well developed during Gupta period, and the purity of coins indicate the health of economy. Health of economy was good during earlier period, and later part from Kumar Gupta first onwards, the health of economy had declined. So all these things you need to connect with each other. This is an example of Gupta gold coin. What was the social system during Gupta times? What were the typical social elements? What were the new developments here? In Gupta times, we find first reference of sati. First reference of sati in inscription is provided by Iran inscription. Iran is a place in MP. From here one inscription was found. The time period of this inscription is 510 AD. Gupta king that time was Bhanu Gupta. According to the details provided by this inscription, there was a commander of Bhanugupta. His name was Goparaja. Goparaja was commander of Bhanugupta. He died while fighting against Hunas. And after his death, his queen, the Goparaja's queen, burnt herself along with the dead body of her husband. So this is the first inscriptional reference, first written reference to Sati. Sati means a lady burning herself or a widow burning herself with her dead husband. That's one important point here, one important development. Number of castes increased because of intermixing of Varnas, because of assimilation of many non-Aryan tribes. Non-Aryan tribes were assimilated because Gupta Empire was very vast, or Guptas brought new territories under their control, and also because of the assimilation of foreigners. These foreigners like Indo-Greek, Sakas, Kushanas also got assimilated in Indian society. We find here first reference of Kayasth. Kayasth caste emerged during Gupta age. First reference of Kayastha. Kayasth was the caste of land record keepers. So Kayasths were basically clerks. They used to maintain the records of land. Land grants were issued by Gupta rulers on a significantly large scale, and these Kayasths used to maintain the records of land. So Kayasth, you need to see a couple of related points, not from here but from the earlier periods. Untouchability. Was prevalent during Gupta age, and untouchability emerged during post-Mauryan period. First reference of untouchability is found in Manu Smriti. So Manu was an ancient scholar, a rishi, or we say a law maker or the lawgiver, or basically an ancient Indian intellectual. He wrote a book called Manu Smriti, and this Smriti, other name for the same is Dharma Shastra. So sometimes you'll find the term Dharma Shastra, sometimes you'll find the term Smriti. So Manu Dharma Shastra or Manu Smriti, meaning is the same. At times the name is Manavya Dharma Shastra. So meaning is the same. Manu Smriti, Manavya Dharma Shastra, Manu Dharma Shastra. So Manu Smriti is a book of post-Mauryan times. For the first time, or the first reference of untouchability is found in this book. We find here practice of Istridhana, the wealth or the money or the property of women. So concept of Istridhana is mentioned here in the books of this time. Slavery was prevalent. There were different types of slaves here in society. Some slaves used to be voluntary. People used to become slaves out of their free will just to earn merit or to get the grace of God. So these are the typical social elements of Gupta times that you should remember, you should try to note down. Literary works or the books of Gupta times. Gupta age is often termed as the classical age. Remember the word. Classical age of Sanskrit literature. Classical age means the age during which progress of highest level is witnessed. The progress which was never seen before, the progress which was never seen thereafter, is the climax or the zenith of progress. So it was the classical age of Sanskrit literature because remarkable progress was witnessed in the field of Sanskrit literature. Kalidas, was a great scholar. He wrote many books, Malvika Agnimitram, Abhigyanam Sakuntalam Ritu Samhara. So he was the author of many works. Then we had Vishakadatta. Try to recall the name. It was covered in one of the previous classes. Vishakadatta wrote 2 books, Mudra Raksas and Devi Chandraguptam. Then there was another famous scholar, Vishnu Sharma. Vishnu Sharma was the author of world famous Panchtantra. Panchtantra has a collection of stories, and this book has been translated in most of the languages of the world. Amar Simha wrote Amar Kosh, and Amar Kosh is an encyclopedia. So many books were composed in Sanskrit language. That is why it was the classical age of Sanskrit literature. What was the development in the field of art architecture? Construction of temples commenced during Gupta age, and this style of temple was Nagara style. We will see in detail. Nagara style was the style of North India. Details we'll see when we go to the classes of art and culture in advanced portion of your course. We find here sculpture was well developed, art of sculpture, making of images, paintings were made on the walls of the caves, temples. Music, one example of music we have already discussed, how Samudragupta used to play veena. He is depicted as a player of veena on his coins. So even the royal court used to patronize musicians. Other art forms such as the art form of singing and dancing were also prevalent. And one very important point here that you have to remember here, Devadasis. Devadasi system emerged during Gupta age. Devadasis were temple dancers. According to Kalidas, the Mahakal temple of Ujjain had a large number of Devadasis. They used to entertain the temple god through their music and dance. So this was the development in the field of art architecture. Now Gupta to the post-Gupta period. Harshvardhan ruled from 606 to 647 AD. He was the greatest rulers of his times. He was from Thanesar originally. Thanesar in Haryana, near Kurukshetra. His father was Prabhakar Vardhan. His sister was married to King of Kannauj. And this dynasty was Mokhri dynasty. His name was Grihavarman. Grihavarman was killed by some invaders. The invaders killed Grihavarman, and this invading alliance was headed by Shashank of Bengal. There were some more rulers as a part of this alliance. So Shashank of Bengal attacked Kannauj. He killed Grihavarman. There was no one to sit on the throne of Kannauj, and under those circumstances, Harshvardhan shifted his capital from Thanesar to Kannauj. He integrated both the kingdoms, the Mokri kingdom as well as the kingdom of Thanesar, and that made Harshvardhan the king of whole of North India. He became the most powerful ruler of North India. Harshvardhan was a great ruler. At the same time, he was a patron of art culture. Harshvardhan wrote 3 books. Very important: Nagananda, Ratnavali, and Priyadarshika. Initially, Harshvardhan was a follower of Shaivism, but later on he adopted Buddhism. This change was very much like Ashoka. Ashoka was also a follower of Shaivism in his early life, and later on he had adopted Buddhism. So similar was the case with Harshvardhan. Harshvardhan was a very powerful king, but when he tried to conquer South India, he was defeated by Pulkesin II. Pulkesin II was Chalukyan king. So when Harsha tried to cross river Narmada, the Chalukya king Pulkesin II defeated him on the banks of river Narmada. So it means he was the most powerful king of North India, but not necessarily most powerful king in whole of India. Pulkesin II was far more powerful than him. And this Pulkesin II himself was defeated later by Pallava king, we'll see, Narasimhavarmana. One word, Narasimhavarmana Pallava. So it means as we go from north to Deccan, Deccan was ruled by Chalukyas, and then we go to south of Pallavas. So as we go from north to south, we find more and more powerful kings. So Harshvardhan was most powerful in north, but he was not most powerful in whole of India. That's what you need to see about Harshvardhan. During the reign of Harshvardhan, one famous Chinese traveler visited India. And this Chinese traveler was Huan Shang. He wrote a book called Siyuki. This book is very important to understand the history of India in 7th century or in Harsha's times. Another Chinese traveler, famous Chinese traveler, was Fahian, and he came to India during the reign of Chandragupta II Vikramaditya. He wrote a book, Fukyoki. So these two. One more Chinese traveler you can remember here. He was Itsing, Itsing. He came to India in 672. The book name is very long. Travels across Buddhist kingdoms. The gentleman came in 629. He stayed here till 645. And Fahian came in 399 and stayed here till 411. It was Fahian who said the king of India was having 2 capitals. Recall, Chandragupta II Vikramaditya was having 2 capitals. One was Patliputra and second was Ujjain. This information was provided by Fahian. So these descriptions left behind by Chinese travelers play important role in understanding the history of ancient age. Cultural developments in Harsha's times. So cultural developments we can see In literature, Harsha's literature, we have seen there was Banabhatta in Harsha's court. Banabhatta was author of Kadambari and Harshcharita. So Harshcharita and Kadambari, there were two books written by Banabhatta. Cultural development was also in the form of promotion of Buddhism, Harshvardhan organized a Buddhist council or the Buddhist assembly or a gathering of Buddhist monks at Kannauj. So there was a Buddhist council at Kannauj in Harsha's times, and this Buddhist assembly or council was headed by Chinese traveler Huyen Xiang. Couple of more points. Harsha used to organize a donation gathering known as Mahamoksha Parishad. This Mahamoksha Parishad, or a gathering for making donations or charity, was organized by him after every 5 years. And one such assembly was organized by him, one such gathering was organized by him when Huyen Xiang was in India at Prayag. So Huyen Xiang wrote about Prayag as well as Kannauj assemblies. Another important point you need to see here is that in Harsha's times, we find beginning of the domination of feudalism. Feudal lords started becoming very powerful. Till the time Harsha was there, he kept them under control. And when Harsha was no more, these feudal lords became very powerful. They became a source of serious trouble. So this was the cultural life of Harsha's times. Books, there was no significant development in architecture or other fields, but these are the things that you need to remember. When you move from north to south or peninsular India, this was Harsha's time here. Harsha was ruling over North India. And when Harsha was ruling over North India, these Chalukyas were ruling over Deccan. At the same time in south, Pallavas of Kanchipuram were ruling. Pallavas were ruling with capital at Kanchipuram. So south, this area, Deccan, this area, north, this area, all these things you need to see. Harsha was contemporary to them. So Pallavas ruled with the capital at Kanchipuram. Pallavas are famous in history for construction of caves. A number of caves were cut during Pallava times. Ratha temples of Mahabalipuram were cut here in Pallava times, and temples of Dravidian style temples began to be constructed during Pallava times. Pallavas were great patron of literature and learning. Kanchipuram was a world famous center of learning. So when Kanchipuram was a world famous center of learning here, in Harsha's times, there was a world famous center of learning in the form of Nalanda. So Nalanda was a world famous Buddhist university, and this Nalanda university was established by, remember the name Kumar Gupta first. Gupta King Kumar Gupta first established Nalanda University. Look at the name. This king, Kumar Gupta, first established Nalanda University. Harsha also patronized this university, and he also granted many villages to this university for its maintenance. In Pallava times, Kanchipuram was the seat of learning, so Pallavas patronized learning, literature, construction of temples. In Pallava times, we find beginning of local self-governance. And what starts under Pallavas became very well developed under Cholas. We'll see that part in Chola topic. So, Pallava kings, Narasimha Varmana first were very powerful, or he defeated Chalukya king Pulkesin II. Pulkesin II had defeated Harshvardhan, so that we can see Pallavas were the most powerful in India at that time. This was the area here. Chalukyas ruled in Deccan with capital at Vatapi. And this Vatapi was also known as Badami. Location Karnataka. Chalukyas were very powerful politically. Pulkesin II, name we have just seen, had defeated Harshvardhan, and this information is provided by his court poet Ravi Kirti. Ravi Kirti composed an inscription known as Ahol inscription. Ahol is a place in Karnataka. There is a temple here in the city, and on the walls of this temple we find one inscription known as Ahol inscription. This inscription was written or composed by Ravi Kirti. In this inscription, he mentions that Harshvardhan was defeated by Pulkesin II. So they were politically very powerful, militarily very powerful. Chalukyas patronized Vesara style. Of temple architecture. And this style of temple architecture was the result of combination of elements of North Indian Nagar style and South Indian Dravidian style. So Nagara style of North, Dravidian style of South combined together to make Vesara style of Chalukyan times. So Chalukyas ruled in Deccan for more than 200 years. Cholas, the last of today's class here. Cholas we find twice in history. Sangam age Cholas. And second time, imperial Cholas. Family was the same. Only thing was that in between, Cholas came under Pallavas. Sangami Cholas were from around 300 BC to 300 AD. In between came Pallavas. Pallavas became powerful in south. And then Pallavas were overthrown by Cholas, and once again Cholas became dominant, and these dominant Cholas are known as imperial Cholas. So in between there was a period of Pallavas. The capital of Sangame Cholas was Urayur, if you recall, we have seen in one of the classes. Urayur was famous for cotton trade. Urayur was later replaced with Kaveri Pattinam. Recall the name of king who built it, Karikala. Imperial Cholas were having capital at Tanjore, and later on this was replaced with Gangai, Konda, Cholapuram. This new capital was built by Rajendra I in the memory of the conquest of Gangetic Valley. The Chola king Rajendra I sent his army to conquer Bengal, and that army defeated Mahipala, the king of Pala dynasty of Bengal at that time. Cholas are famous in history for their powerful navy. They conquered Sri Lanka, Southeast Asia. They carried Indian culture far beyond Indian boundaries. They carried Indian culture to Java, Sumatra, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, Malaysia, Maldives, and that transformed India into a great cultural power. So Cholas promoted trade. Cholas were famous for these Nataraja sculptures. Large number of Nataraja sculptures were made, and Chola period is also a period of such kind of massive temples. So this was the class of today. I hope you have noted down the main points and keep revising these points. Keep on reading your NCERT book. Integrate the points that you note from the NCERT book as well as from the classes, and you need to revise them repeatedly. A repeated revision is the key to success in civil services examination. So keep learning, keep moving ahead. If you face any difficulty anywhere, always feel free to contact me through teacher support, and I'm always here to help you. All the best. God bless you.